All right. So Ray, you and I
So,
have decided to come together and have a conversation. Ultimately, our topic was to find out why women and men are so divided today, why are relationships so difficult to attain, and why is understanding between men and women so difficult? And between you and I think that by starting with the Industrial Revolution is probably a good place to start because that's where, from what we could both understand, is that men and women went from being united to divided. What's your take on that?
I think to me, and I've been, researching a little bit about feminism and everything, but I think what they devised, everything, the separation of men and women was by design. And I think they succeeded in doing that because men were taking care of the house, and of course the woman was men were taking care of the economic aspect of the family, but the woman was educating the children and taking care of the house and everything, and the man, was the only responsibility for him was to bring the money and stability to the family. But
Well, they
then,
had farming, right?
feminism and everything, yeah, it's I think for me in that aspect, for me was kind of perfect. I understand some feminists, they have because you know feminism is not completely evil in the way that, for example, there are some men that really mistreat women, and they have like this economic power, and they can exert economic abuse on some
Right.
women, because when a man has a lot of money, if they can
Mm,
if they want to abuse you, they will do that because they have money. So it's
right.
difficult for you to escape unless the woman divorced the man. But the
Hmm.
thing is, now with the laws, the woman has the power to take half of the money from the man and live, happily ever after, if you want to call it like that. But the thing is that because the that divorce laws are really against the man, or against men in general.
Well, it's
Men
we're
right
talking about
now,
where, but it's talking about where it's at now as opposed to where it first began, right? So in
yeah,
order for us to understand better where we're at now with the big divide where men hate women now, women hate men, and there's this
yeah,
division that's ugly in this world, right? Because
it's
like
it's it's
what we
yeah,
need,
the division is really bad. And I know,
yeah.
sorry to interrupt in this one. I think the hatred that it's been brewing around these movements like feminism, or in the case the men is the MGTOW, they call it, is MGTOW, which
Right.
is men going their own way. So men going their own way, it's been like that forever. But feminism, feminism is kind of evil in certain way, but they have certain points that you have to agree with them in some way. But the thing is that this design from the beginning was to
Hmm.
separate the man, or separate the woman, to take her from the house so
Yes.
she can work, make money, and you, with that, if the woman is making money, you divide the family, and you can weaken the family, the relationship and everything, because now the children, the state can take care of the children. That's what they want. And if the man or the woman are not together, you don't have a family anymore.
Well,
You don't
if I
have a
can
family anymore,
interject,
right? Yeah,
well, if I
please.
can interject, it's the it didn't start with feminism. It started with the Industrial Revolution.
The
That's
industrial
where
revolution,
it began.
in certain way, yes.
because I'll tell you, I'll share with you why that's my perspective. Because before they took the woman out, they had to take the man away. The
Yeah,
man was the one that was first taken out of the family, the head of the house. Excuse me. So if he was gone, then the woman was now left by herself, unprotected, and without guidance throughout the day. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that the man needs to guide a woman all the time, but I'm just saying that the family dynamic of the man and working together on a daily basis, building together, changes when you take the man away. Because a
yeah,
woman,
it's true.
the way that she's wired, will build the kingdom with the man. He's the king, she's the queen. And together they build their family. So let's, like, my grandparents, okay, let's just look at my great grandparents, let's say. When they got married, they were young, and they had a farm. And my grandpa didn't work outside of the farm, and my grandmother either. So um, they worked at the farm. They had cows and they had gardens, and they built together. They were not separate from each other. And then, as they had children, my grandparents, let's say, then they were told at that time, especially, well, in North America and Canada, is that, oh, send your children to school. That's when school was starting, and that's when the government was starting to create birth certificates for the children, and saying that send your children to school, or actually send the fathers to go to work for them to make more money to have a better life. But they already had a good life. They had
Yeah,
food in their bellies. They had the capabilities
exactly.
to grow their own food, to build homes. They had creativity. Not to say that there may not have been some difficulties, but they sold the
Yeah,
man a lie to say,
yeah,
you will
exactly. And
have
they had
riches.
they didn't have any debt. Also, they didn't have
Well, they
debts
may,
like they have
or, well,
today.
who knows? But I don't think they had debts like they had now, because there wasn't like lending like there was back then, like what there is now.
Yeah,
Sorry.
exactly. Yeah,
So I think that that's probably the lie that they fed the family, the man, saying you could provide better for your family if you go to the city, if you start working at a factory, because a man wants to provide. So what did they have to do? They had to lie to him first.
yeah, it's true. It's true. And that
Yeah,
the thing
and
is with the men out of the house, the family is really weak.
absolutely. Absolutely. He's not there to protect. He was gone, let's say, from, let's say, 6 o'clock in the morning to 6 o'clock at night. She's been at home taking care of the family all day by herself, let's say, or if she had older children. Do you know what I mean? So then all of a sudden you're
Yeah,
creating separation, intimacy between husband and wife,
yeah,
man and woman, to work together. Now you have him doing something and then her doing something, and men and women think very differently in respects to um, how work is scored, let's say. Okay. So a man, I
yeah,
remember once watching this particular a comedian, this pastor guy, and he was talking about how men and women score each, like, their tasks. A man, if he doesn't want to get up to go to work, but he does, he'll give himself 500 points for one, to get up. And then when he goes out, he
together.
doesn't want to go, it's another 500 points. Well, the women might score and say, well, okay, well, that's 1 point, right? So men will probably give themselves more points, more value based on how they think that they're performing, where women don't score themselves the same way. So now you have the guy
That's
going
really
out,
nice.
being away from his family. He may score himself, let's say, 10,000 points for having gone away, and he's exerting energy. But then when he comes home, he doesn't know what his wife did all day. And he might think that his value of going out to work to gain money is more valuable, as opposed to her staying home taking care of the children. I'm not saying that that is necessarily what takes place all the time, but men and women
Yeah,
score each
exactly.
other differently. So, and from my experience, from my grandparents, my grandmother never worked, and my grandfather was a very harsh man, and he used
Mm,
the money to control. And if she didn't,
Exactly. That's
if she, because back then there was no such thing as divorce. You stayed back in the early 40, like 30s and 40s. There was no such thing as divorce. So first,
yeah,
so then as well too, you have the unification of family. You don't even have divorce as an option, but then you take the man out of the equation, you send him away, and then you lie to the woman with the feminism to say, well, your husband's using the money against you, right? He's abusing you. Well, why don't you go out to work for yourself, and then you don't have to be under his control? Isn't that funny how that started?
yeah, it's like I said before. I remember and I've seen this example of a man controlling uh they have economic control
Yeah,
over the woman if they had money. But the thing
yeah.
is, if they are together, if they are married, it will be a different thing because a man cannot do that anymore. I
Well, we're
think
talking about
if
today.
if
Yeah, but we're talking about back then,
well
right?
today, but before you didn't have
Yeah.
well the marriage institution. I don't remember what year was established, but it's really old. It's centuries old. When you are married legally, like the woman, you have to take care of the woman,
Yeah. Yeah.
which
Well,
is
it's
right
just,
because if she's taking care of the children, you have to take care of the family. As a man, if you're making a lot of money, you have to take care of everything else, of course.
and hopefully she
But
takes care of you,
today,
right?
today is
Not just,
different.
well, today is the debacle of what I believe was once more functional.
Yeah, it's worse now. Now it's really bad. If a man or a woman divorce, you even have to pay for her lawyer and to pay all the expenses and everything. Like she doesn't have to pay anything.
I
That's
don't know if
today.
it's like that in
Before
Canada. See, I think that that might be
Canada,
something in the
Canada
States
is
too.
worse actually.
Well, I've had
Canada,
like I've had
I think,
people, but I've had people divorce. Like I've had both men and women divorce, and the women that are my friends and family, when they divorced, the men
yeah.
were so bad to them that the women just went, screw it, I don't want the money. I just want to get rid of him. And they walked away from
Mm.
half the house, they walked away from half the whatever because they were so awful to them and they just wanted to disconnect from the relationship. So I don't believe that every woman is out to
Yeah,
get the guy's
but
money.
maybe so. Do you think what they told you that what women told you, or you live that by experience? Because usually women stay the lawyers of the woman have has to be paid by the men. So I don't think there's no
Well, I'm
advantage of the
talking,
woman just
well, I'm just speaking
yeah.
from my, like I have a cousin that I'm very close to who
Yeah.
left her husband. He was like an alcoholic and she stayed for the children. And when
Okay.
she
And
wanted
when
to,
she left the money. She left the money as
she left. Yeah. Yeah,
she left
she
all the
left.
money.
Yes, she left everything. She left
Mm.
everything. So, and it could be like, I don't remember if it was like she used lawyers or anything like that, because the lawyers will fight amongst each other to get the couple to fight. But she just wanted out. She really wanted out. And the house was worth like $300,000, let's say at the time. And she walked away from 150,000. She just wanted out. So I honestly, and this is not the first one that I know personally that's walked away, because women, let's backtrack. Not all women want men for their money, and not all men use money to abuse women, right?
Yeah, that's
So
correct. But the thing is, the woman has the power today. Uh,
in the
I mean, for more
courts,
than maybe
in
70
the
years, the
courts,
woman has the power to take everything.
in the
Maybe
courts,
there are,
yes.
you are right, you are right. Women, some women that are, I mean, the number has to be really few that
Mm-hmm.
these women doesn't don't if this woman doesn't want the money uh, from this man, it's kind of crazy because women they go, I mean,
Well, between
they
you and
will
I, we've
take the
not,
money.
but listen, between you and I don't think you've never had that experience where someone you were married to someone you divorced and they took the
No,
money, right?
I didn't have the experience. But for
No, and
example, I
neither
have
did
two
I.
brothers. They got
Yeah,
divorced,
yeah,
and
yeah,
I know because
yeah.
I close really close to my
You've seen
brothers.
them.
One of
Yes.
them, I'm not talking because in the United States, probably are the same laws as like in Canada. Probably the laws
I
are
think
really
it's,
bad. I have a case
oh, they're bad. Yeah, for sure.
from from Canada. I have a case. I'll send you the case because this case is really like for me was really strange. I think I don't know. I had to look for the video because the video is around there. It's I think I saved the video. I don't remember where now, but it's on YouTube. But I know from my experience with my brothers,
Mm,
when they got divorced, they just lost everything. I mean, they
right.
lost. Well, my brother, I remember that it was funny because not funny because he was suffering, of course not, but he
Of course.
wanted like the dog. He wanted the dog, and he told me like, look, I don't want the fucking house. I just want my dog back. He
Wow.
wanted the dog. Like at least don't take the dog. She took the
Right.
dog,
Oh,
and I was
that's
it
awful.
was kind of funny because he didn't want like the material things, but he
Mhm.
was like attached to the dog.
Right.
And I remember my other brother, my half brother, I have to say, and he got divorced. And the woman, the only excuse that she had, and I'm telling you, this is because of the laws that we have today. The only excuse that she had is, I'm not happy.
Hmm.
He wasn't, he was working, he didn't miss. I know this guy, he's not the same, but he's not a woman hitter. Or
Right.
he doesn't she won't hit you or something. He doesn't drink alcohol. It's this guy is a little bit different.
Man. He's a good
And
man.
when a good man, exactly, good guy,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
he
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
working,
Hmm.
yeah, working like a dog. And this woman apparently she wanted to find herself, which means she wants to fuck other men. That's what it means. And she said, I'm not happy anymore and I don't want to live with you. And of course the man doesn't have any say on that because it's called no fault divorce.
Okay.
So the no fault divorce is if the woman is not happy, she just she can leave, and nobody, not even the court or the man, has can force her to stay. And yeah, that those are the laws today, and I think that has to change a little. It won't change right now. It won't change. So the separation is even more, I have to say, acute because men and women right now hate each other, which is really bad because they don't. The men today, and probably you can talk about that because um, some men now with the content creation on
Hmm.
YouTube,
Yep.
on Instagram, some men are talking about like you can date women because they are horrible, and of course,
Yep.
women are saying you can date men because they are horrible.
That's right. Yep.
And the thing is, it is a really cruel fight between men and women right now. And right now, dating is not an option today. Dating is not an option. Um, there are horrible things that men and women are doing to each other. But the thing
Yeah.
is, because from a social point of view, women are entitled to the money of men. So men say, like, what is
Mm.
the point of dating if I have to
Yep.
pay all the time?
That's right.
And the thing is, women said, if you can pay for my food, if you can pay for my bag, for my Louis Vuitton bag, if you cannot pay for that, like you are not valuable. You have no
Yeah.
value to my eyes because you
Right.
don't have a lot of money. Because
Right.
nowadays, if a man wants a woman, want a woman, uh, women are so expensive to the eyes of men, of course, because but I'm talking about the American woman. The American woman is, I mean, it's pure vanity.
Right.
It's pure vanity. The way they're growing up to think they are princesses is something that, unfortunately, you see in the Disney movies. You are see it's a really the programming that they're using today with women and men,
Yeah.
because for men it's like you have to be a macho, you have to be a
Right.
masculine man, you have to be an alpha, which is bullshit because an alpha has to guard his back all the time. In nature, an alpha has to kill other weak animals to exert power and to demonstrate that he has the right to mate and
Right.
to produce the
Offspring.
lineage, the children, the offspring. And the
Yeah.
thing is that men today think that being an alpha is the answer to get women, which is not true.
Right.
That's not true. Yeah, you can have women being an alpha if you want to be an alpha, but you have to keep that facade all the time. You have to keep that you want to be an alpha all the time. You
Mhm.
have to be rough with everybody, not just with
Right.
women, but with men too, with everybody, because an alpha in nature is rough. He's
Mhm.
not like a sentimental guy or something. No, he is rough
He's not
and
in
being
touch with his
rough
feminine
to
side.
everybody. Exactly. And the thing is, you don't have to be feminine to be a man or
No.
to be an alpha, but you can be gentle. You can be empathetic. You can be
Hmm.
a how do you call it? You have to have respect for people
Yes.
around you. You don't have to
Yes.
insult anybody. You don't have to be strong all the time. You can just be a man. You can be a man, and that's enough. But society today, the way they see you is that you have to have a lot of money.
Right.
You have to be dominating all the time. You have to be strong uh, economically, physically, emotionally. You have to be, and
And you have to
it's not
play.
like
You
that.
have to, you could be the guy that has multiple women and not care, just like the women can have multiple men and not care. I think the
Exactly.
reason why,
That's the way they see it now.
right. I think the reason why you and I wanted to have these discussions is to kind of, although we kind of know what the problem is out there, right, with the American woman, that's a Canadian woman, that's a European woman, or do you know what I mean? Like, let's just say the Western culture. And obviously, you have different countries that struggle with different cultural ideas of what men and women are, based on, well, their culture and how they're raised, right? So I think
Yeah.
that's also a big dynamic. um, but the reason why you and I wanted to have these conversations is, yes, we could discuss about what the problems are, but at the end of the day, we can't fix the problems with people that love that type of lifestyle. If women want to keep hating men and um, they keep consuming the social media that keeps feeding the feminist movement that makes that the woman is better than men and men are nothing, and men consume social media that say women are nothing, you could be by yourself, who cares, then those are not the people that we want to attract for these types of conversations, because they've already made up their mind of the lifestyle that they consume and they want to keep participating in. The reason why we wanted to have a conversation was to talk to the men and women that are like you and I, that notice the problem and that go, but I'm not like that. I'm not that woman. And you're like, I'm not that guy. And to have open discussions about how to give hope to both men and women to say, hey, there are diamonds in the rough. There are some out there that don't subscribe to that lifestyle, even though they're in that world, but they're not of it. And we could talk about every single thing that brought men and women to where they're at today, as I feel that that's truly important to understand why, let's say, you and I still have issues because we were raised on the Disney, the Princess Disney and all that kind of stuff. And you
Yeah,
may have thought, well, I'm going to be Prince Charming. Whichever lie that we've accepted to be true that makes us who we are today, and go, hold on a second, this isn't working. And to really have open discussions, like, to have that perception of, like, what is it like to be a guy in today's society, and to really have your perspective, and to have my perspective on what it's like, let's say, to be a dating woman in her 40s, like, to go, okay, like, what's going on and what are we both seeing? Because I think it's good to have these conversations with what's happened to your brother, what's happened to my cousin, but that we are we could we could see how their experience, we're outside looking in, but also it's one-sided, right? I didn't see how my
yeah,
cousin's husband was acting towards all this. I only saw her side. And your brother, you know what I mean? So there's different angles that we don't get to see. We just got to see the ugliness of some sides, I suppose, right? Like, he didn't treat her really well,
unfortunately,
and
yes.
she didn't treat him very well either. And there's a bit of ugliness that comes out when, let's say, both people thought that when they got into this marriage that it was going to be forever, and they thought that they were going to grow together, and they had expectations of each other that were not met. And then it gets ugly, because if people don't operate out of love, as we know today, everybody hates each other. Like, it's
Yeah,
awful.
yeah, you are
It's awful.
correct. People, but I think something that is making the situation worse is the misinformation that you can find. For example, not just on YouTube, but on Instagram. Right now, this movement or these men, they call themselves MGTOW, I think the manosphere or something like that. I've been reading a little bit about them. Um, they have they have certain points, certain valid points that I can say, well, they are right in that sense. But the thing is, there are no woman for them that is good. There is no
Oh,
way, because what they say is that a woman had the advantage to be unfaithful or to have many men when they want, which is true because the woman, remember, the woman control the access to sex, but the man control the access to marriage. So
right,
you can have sex with whoever you want. The woman can have sex with anyone she wants, but man can marry whoever he wants. Men have
right.
the key to the marriage, but the woman have the keys to the sex. And that's the problem right now. Men say, well, this woman can be unfaithful to me. I will never know, which is true because women are really clever with that. We maybe can do that, but it's almost not impossible. But for example, right now, you say on the internet, I have a pussy, I want men to come fuck me. And let me tell you something, it will be 1,000 or at least minimum 100 guys that will go there and fuck you.
Yes.
A man, doesn't matter how attractive he is, if he says right now, I have a dick, I want women to come here and fuck me. Sorry to say to talk like that, but yeah, we are adults. So the thing is, women, it doesn't matter what women is listening to him. Women will think about it like, now maybe two, maybe one will say yes and we go, but it will
Or
be
there's a
really
lot
difficult.
less. There's a lot less, but you will always have
It's a
some
lot
willing.
less, but the
That's
difference
right.
is I mean, it's really vast. But the thing is that men say, I don't have the advantage. And I can tell you this because I remember Brad Pitt. You won't believe this thing. Brad Pitt on Instagram, he tried to hit this woman in, Brad Pitt, even he's 60 now, I think. He's a very handsome man. He's elegant and everything. He's a very handsome man, even with the age and everything. And it was like maybe 5 years ago, and he said to this woman like, look, can we go out? I'm talking about Brad Pitt here. Brad Pitt. He said like, can we go out, and I'll pay, if we can go to a restaurant or something. The woman said like, I'll think about it. She said no. And this woman, she was a poor woman.
Mhm.
We're talking about a poor woman. And you're telling me that Brad Pitt has difficulty to get a woman to go out with him with all the money that he has, and she can say no. Imagine what can happen to a normal guy.
Right. But isn't it
Imagine
interesting?
what can happen to a normal guy.
But I want to interject. Isn't it interesting that
Yeah.
she she's like she has a guy that has all this money, all this capability, and she decides whether or not she wants that. So it's interesting that even though she knows who it is, she's not going for him because of his name or his status or his money. Isn't that interesting? I just find that
Yeah,
interesting that you
it's
shared that.
interesting, but let me tell you something. It's more than interesting because the society says to the woman that it doesn't matter who the man is, she has to give herself uh, the benefit of the doubt because she doesn't want to look easy at,
Right.
at the eyes of society. She
Right.
can, like women
It's
are
true.
more like
Prone to be
for example,
chased.
if she exactly, it doesn't matter if it is Brad Pitt or Leonardo DiCaprio, it doesn't matter.
Right.
Women want to be chased because
That's right.
society tells you that men has to chase women, have to pursue women or whatever, or have to chase women. And that's wrong. In Europe, and I learned that with this woman from France, being in Dominican Republic, women from France, women from Dominican Republic, they do that too. If they like you, they tell you, like, look, I
Yes.
like you. Can we go out? Just like that. French women
Yep.
are like that. And I have experience with French women.
Hmm.
I loved it because I didn't have to go there
And
chasing
try to
her
hunt.
or something like that. Exactly. It was different. Uh, in Dominican Republic, women are like that also, and like you don't have to chase a lot like that. And I think we have that. We learned that from Italy and France because our
From
culture
what?
has a lot of influence from Italy. We have a lot of influence
From
from Italy
Italy.
and
Oh,
France.
gotcha, gotcha,
Yeah,
gotcha. Well,
yeah. So
before our thing cuts off, we only have a couple of minutes before our time is
yeah,
up. So let's put a
yeah,
pin in this and pick this conversation back up because I feel that we had a really good start to our conversation talking about the Industrial Revolution, talking about a little bit of feminism, a little bit about what the men struggle with and what the women struggle with today. And I think that our topics of conversations will probably go on because both you and I are very passionate about sharing both sides of the story. And maybe for the next topic of conversation, I'd like to pick back up about the false illusion that men need to chase and women need to be chased. What do you think about that?
yeah. I will. If you like, I would like to to infuse a little bit of history
Yeah.
about feminism,
Yes.
how it came about, and the origins and everything. The next time we talk. because I think it's really important that you know we have to know a little bit of history about feminism, and
Absolutely.
I think like you said before, the Industrial Revolution destroyed the family first because it took the men out of the equation,
That's
and
right.
I think if you take the men out, just you can
That's
destroy
where it all
the
started.
family really
That's
easy.
right. So let's pick up this conversation. Thank you so much, Raven, for having a conversation with me, and I will
You're
see
welcome.
you on our next time.
Perfect.